People come and go so quickly here.
No, I don't know many people.
I know too many people. I guess we're both lonely.
Milk was a bad choice.
You crying? No. Are you crying? Are you crying? There's no crying. There's no crying in baseball.
When you're working through finding the right people in your life, it can be tough in a digital world. With swiping apps, digits, it can be confusing. Well, on the Al Travis Show, we have Heather Dugan, our relationship expert, to help with all your relationship questions.
Always love having Heather Dugan on the program with us. I do some introductions here. Eric Mishi is the man running save.org. That's what we're working for today. And when we're putting together the show, I'm like, I don't want Heather to leave. Because, Eric, for the most part, we talk about the feelings that everybody gets as we're grown adults getting back in the dating game. Heather understands this stuff. She can talk feelings. I have two, and I'm not good at this. So I wanted to have her here to discuss it and help me out. Here's what I was wondering if we could talk about. The residual feelings that are associated when we talk suicide. And I would start with my first one, which is probably my third feeling, fear. And I think I shared with you, Eric, one time. When I was in high school, a gal had written this poem, right? It did not rhyme, first off, but it's still a poem, they say. But it was very dark. I mean, to the point of it scared me when I saw it. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I literally scared me. I was 16, 17. What do I know? Huh. And I went to the counselor, handed him the note and said, I don't know. I don't know poetry, and maybe this is just a young lady putting angst out to the world. I don't have any idea, but I'm not dealing with this. He called her into the office. She didn't speak to me again. I mean, it was over. But I do know for a fact, like 10 years ago, I found out she's alive, doing well, and I don't know that I stopped anything, did anything. But the feelings I had from that when I started getting Eric on the show, those feelings are weird, are real, but I'm not sure everybody knows how to deal with them. I don't know if I did. I got scared and ran, handed it over. We don't do enough to talk about. Eric and I have talked about this a couple times. Uh-huh. I think we need high school programs on this, the Resuscita Annie, if you will, of suicide prevention, so that, hey, when the young lady gives you a note, here's what we do. Why does it have to be this scary thing? Am I wrong, Heather? I was petrified. I read this note.
Yeah, and yet, and I'm sure Eric will agree. I mean, the message ultimately that young woman probably got was that somebody cared enough. Hopefully, she understood that meant somebody noticed her. Somebody, she mattered. But yeah, it's scary stuff, and we don't often feel equipped to handle our own feelings. And when you are given an armful of somebody else's, most of us don't have the tools yet to equip. We have a long way to go on that, don't we, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, it's the challenge is, and we talk about this a lot, Al, is that, the fear of the unknown, right? And our fear of unknown with our emotions and our feelings is in itself can be paralyzing at times. And so, that's why we talk, Al, a lot about the One Step Ahead program that's at save.org, right? So that you can go on there, and it's free. It's 45-minute online self-led program that teaches you how to talk to somebody about suicide, but then help to deal with that fear. Is that if you're talking to somebody and you ask them, are they thinking about hurting themselves? What happens when they say to you, yes, I am, right? Yeah. And how do you empower people? And I think part of the challenge in the work that we do is empowering people to act, right? Empowering people to have the conversation. And talking about your emotions in general is not something that most people are comfortable with. I wasn't aware you had three feelings, but now...
Well, fear just got in there. Happy, sad, and fear are the three now. I'm gonna
probe deeper the next time.
Right.
The key here is being willing to talk about these things.
Right. And what you're talking about, and I use this in a lot of my material and work, but having a script that it doesn't mean word for word, but having options available. I the same kind of thing as, how are you going to do your day? If you're afraid you might respond badly to something, having options in place ahead of time is the best way of equipping yourself. And I love that program. I actually looked at that yesterday when I found out you were going to be on the program too, that we're on together. What a great tool that is for just any person that cares. You never know when you're going to run into somebody that needs that kind of language in that moment.
It's got to be. It's got to be more. Look at this. We're 2025 now, right? I mean, this is not 1800s or something crazy. This is 2025. We've had Dr. Phil on TV for 20 years. Right. We understand these feelings and stuff, but I'll bet dollars for donuts, Eric, in your line of work that you're trying to save people. You save.org. You talk to people who will turn away almost when it comes to the fact that you're going to have this conversation. It's like, oh wait, full-grown adults don't want to have this conversation. How do we expect kids?
I was at a conference in Nashville a couple of weeks ago and getting ready to do a presentation about another program we have for the construction industry called I-Beam. And somebody came up to me before I started speaking and he goes, "Is this conversation all going to be about suicide?" And I said, "It's going to be about suicide." And he goes, "Yeah, I don't want any part of that." Turned around and walked away. And I get it, right? It's a tough subject, but unless you're willing to talk about it, and Al, you and I have talked about this, the fact that you give us a half hour every month to talk about suicide on the radio, an incredible gift to us and our work, because it requires us to have the conversation.
Yeah. Well, and again, and Heather, back to you. It's one thing for us to have the one step ahead on the website and talk about it on a talk radio station. I'm sorry, we skew a little older than the kids, right? Not a lot of kids are tuning into Al. We got to start that training early, that there are going to be signs, and whatever those signs are, and how do we talk about it? I love the script idea. If this is what they say, ask them this and get down this road. And once they say, yeah, I am, now go get some professional help, right? I mean, this is once it leaves once it leaves my purview, get it to somebody who can help.
Well, and the challenge is there are a lot of different factors now with social media, with the digital, messages are being sent back and forth, texting. Kids aren't as connected. They lack the perspective that you have with more social interaction a lot of the time. I don't want to make any general blanket statement, but I don't think anybody will argue that a lot of our younger people have trouble with some of the basic communication that we grew up with because they just weren't given that opportunity. They were handed tools, and tools in the sense of, digital, internet and phones, and that's easier than having a face-to-face conversation. But I like the idea of, we say suicide, you're saying the word, and it's like this big dark cloud. And what I see with the education is beginning to kind of move those wisps aside and separating it into components where people actually can see it as steps that can be addressed, and factors that can be addressed instead of one big, ugly, scary subject.
I think Heather hits up, Merrick. Just the way we communicate today, say we. I'm speaking out of school. Eric told me last week, I'm the worst texter ever. That I can't convey crap.
Is there a poll I missed?
It was a poll of one.
Okay.
So I guess my point is I didn't learn to do it that way. Kids did. But if we sat in a room, can look at each other eye to eye and have a conversation, I can get feelings. I can get, that depth to a conversation. Kids don't have that. So if a kid says something on a text, oh, he must be kidding, right? I mean, and you can just throw that off. Isn't the way they communicate part of the problem, Eric?
Yeah, I mean, well, it's the way we all communicate that's part of the problem. I mean, look, we've said this before. We live in an epidemic of loneliness in this country, in this world, and we're disconnected. Social media was supposed to bring us together. It's really kind of driven us further and further apart. When we think about the most long-lasting negative impact on COVID, it is the isolation that our kids face by not being at school, not being in the classroom, not being on the basketball court, not being in their debate club, and all those kind of things. And so we think that the solution for them was they stay engaged with social media. Well, what we're learning now is that there is all sorts of development issues that go by the wayside when you're communicating primarily through digital and electronic means. And sometimes simply being in the same room with somebody has an enormously powerful impact. It's the reason why we still flock to concerts and sporting events. It's because human connection and contact is an enormously important part of our formation as human beings, whether you're a kid, you're a baby, you're an adolescent, you're a teenager, or you're an old guy like me.
Well,
Go ahead.
I love that sentiment. My problem is with that is I don't know that we can change that wave. We can do some things. We'll talk about some things I think we can change, like the One Step Ahead program. But Erica, I don't know if we can go back to the day when we all wanted to get together on Friday night and drive up and down the strip in Blue Earth and drive past your friends 100 times. I don't know if those days are gone. Am I wrong, Heather?
Well, I think there was something that the sparking of energy between those of you that remember that kind of thing. That's all you need. But if people haven't experienced it, they don't understand that, a facial expression, to switch that to an emoji is a big downgrade. You lose a lot of the nuance, the actual message being communicated there. And the fear factor comes in. If you haven't practiced it, if you aren't used to it, that's intimidating. So we're asking people that haven't necessarily done as much communication face-to-face to tackle big subjects face-to-face. They need basic tools in order to begin to feel confident in acting in that way.
All right. I built we're going to talk about some more feelings. So far, I got Al being scared to death at the top, and then we wandered off. We'll go back to the topic. On the other side of the break, I've got her Heather Dugan, my relationship expert, and Eric Mischie with Save.org. Give Tilhurst a little bit today. Save.org. Donate.
September 24th is Suicide Prevention on the Air Day in Minnesota. Every dollar raised supports SAVE, Suicide Awareness Voices of Education, providing education, advocacy, and programs that save lives. And on September 24th, your gift will go twice as far because every donation will be matched dollar for dollar. Visit save.org to see our work, learn how you can help, and donate. Remember, September 24th, because every voice can save a life.
Achieving your financial goals requires individual planning and a comprehensive approach. At Midwest Money Management, our mission is to provide you with the knowledge, tools, and confidence to feel comfortable financially today and secure about tomorrow. Learn more at MidwestMoneyManagement.com. That's MidwestMoneyManagement.com.
Securities offered through JW Cole Financial Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Advisory services offered through JW Cole Advisors Inc., Midwest Money Management, and JW Cole Financial Inc. and JW Cole Advisors Inc. are unaffiliated entities.
If it's your turn to host a game, Grandpa's Barbecue suggests you try something different. Put out the perfect barbecue flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. Add it to your ribs, dip the meatballs, or drench your wings in the original flavor of Grandpa's Barbecue. It isn't too hot or spicy, fruity or smoky or whatever. Grandpa's Barbecue. Available in select stores and online at grandpasbarbecueshop.com.
as in alligator. L also in alligator. But it's not alligator. It's the Al Travis Show.
And we're here on Suicide Prevention on the Air Day across Minnesota. Please, if you can, go to save.org. Donate until it hurts just a little bit, and we'll double anything that we make today. You can't get better than that. I want to bring it back to the feelings if I can. A relative of mine at 15 committed suicide. And what was shocking to me, I get when people die, we all do death differently. We grieve differently. I'm going to tell you, when it comes to suicidal death, that's off the chart by a magnitude of how people handle it differently. From old school, we don't talk about this, we don't want copycats, so let's just ignore this, to I got to tell everybody about this so it stops. The array of emotions was just staggering for me to watch. I don't know if I can say any of them are wrong, but hopefully some of them we have learned from. I don't know if they've done the stories, Eric, the studies. By talking about it, it makes it more likely to happen. I don't know if any of that's been disproven or not proven. What do you think of just the emotions families have to go through, or people involving it?
Yeah. So
family, friends.
Yeah, I mean, again, I lost my friend to suicide 46 years ago when he was 16 years old, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody talked about it, and if you did, you were very concerned that if you talked about it, you might put the idea in somebody's head. You don't put the idea in somebody's head who is dealing with suicide. Okay. In fact, the fact that you talk to them about it is actually means that there's probably that idea may already be there. So the reason you talk to them is because you want them to tell you that they need help. And so, how we talk to people, how we talk to them about what they're dealing with and their feelings, how we talk about suicide, Al. You and I have talked about that, right? Words matter, the stigma associated with suicide, right? Today, 10 years ago, we talked about how people commit suicide. Today, we don't say that, because the goal here is to say we need to destigmatize that. We commit a crime, we commit a burglary, right? Someone who died by suicide hasn't committed a crime. They're dealing with complex factors. And folks who have lost someone to suicide, you're exactly right, Al. The complexity of a loss to suicide is different. I'm not going to tell you it's worse or whatever than someone who loses someone to cancer or a car accident. It is more complex. There are issues related to fear and anger. There are anxiety, there's frustration, there is the guilt that goes with it, right? We could have done something. So it adds to that complexity of someone who's died when someone dies by suicide. And so being able to talk about it, being able to get resources and support, enormously important, because the people that are most at risk after a suicide are people closest to the individual who's died by suicide.
See. And not to argue with Eric, but Heather, I'll put you on this. I think he's a little wrong in that with suicide compared to just a death. He mentioned cancer. My dad just died of cancer. You walked me through that. I don't take any blame for that. I could have done nothing about this, right? I mean, I can just say that was terrible. It was a tragedy. But on the other side, like he says, almost everybody in the circle of the person who commits, who dies by suicide feels, what did I miss? I didn't miss a cancer diagnosis, but I missed, did I not talk with her enough? Did I not? There's a guilt thing there, no matter who you are, best friends.
Yeah. I think what Eric's referring to is that the complicated guilt. And if you have a relationship you haven't been able to resolve in some way, and when somebody dies by suicide, that by definition, everything is unresolved. They have just vanished, and there's no further interaction. And that's I think that makes it difficult, people. And that's why you absolutely need to talk about it, because people have lost a connection. They are faced with all kinds of questions and fears, as you're mentioning. It just exacerbates anything that they have inside themselves at that point, leaning in any direction like that. One of the most, I thought, meaningful, it sounds small, but I'm a poll worker, Al knows this, at election day, and a woman wore in one of those "Tomorrow Needs You" sweatshirts when she voted. And I talked with her for a minute, and we hugged, and we celebrated her brother who was gone. But that conversation, and then, just wearing that out in public. And I thought, I've had some associations I lost, people that died by suicide. And I thought, I really need to be wearing that just to open the conversation. It's a starter, for people that
we're not going to be able to get into because I'm out of time, but that has to do with the Green Bandana Project, I think, as well. People carrying green bandanas to say, hey, I'm here with you if you need to talk. We'll get more into that in the next half hour. Eric, I appreciate you being here. Heather, thanks for being on the program and talking about this. I really do appreciate you.
One more thing, Al, I'm going to tell you.
Okay.
It is my birthday, and I cannot wait to give to Save.org in honor of my birthday today. So, yes.
Happy birthday.
Congratulations.
Thank
Happy
you.
Happy 40th.
Oh, there we go.
There's your fourth emotion. Al just
yes,
had fourth emotion.
another one was found.
September is Suicide